Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how to deploy updates for Atlas 3 and RMS. Methods used by both applications are similar, and this video will instruct you in a way that should familiarize you with both. First, change the version number in the assembly shared info.cs file to the version that reflects the current version that you're on, and then save it. These can be changed right here, so like there. And then hit save. That's done. Then you'll need to publish the application you want to deploy in Visual Studio. And the way that you do this is you first build it in release mode. And let it run once to make sure that it's not buggy. Okay, it launched. So the version's been changed. Now we can go ahead and publish it by right-clicking on the startup project, which in this case is Atlas 3, and clicking Publish, and making sure that all these settings are correct. We're on .NET 6. That's a self-contained deploy. Windows 64, and its target location is here, and you can change this to whichever directory you want on your local machine. Hit save, and then publish, and it will go ahead and publish the build. Alright, now the packages are ready to be, or the files are ready to be packaged. And I've created a tool for this called the Application Deploy Tool. And the way that this works is it takes this text file here, which can be found in the file configuration folder of the project, and you can configure which files you want packed up in your build. Now you're going to need any files that are necessary for your build to run properly, obviously. This is the configuration file for Atlas 3, and as you can see, it specifies individual files that are inside of the target directory, which in this case is the publish folder that we just published to in Atlas 3. And then there are some others that are blanket wildcard statements that allow you to include all files in the publish directory with the extension after the asterisk. So in this case, we got .layout. We've also got DLLs, config files, anything else, JSON files. If you wanted to, .zip files, anything like that. The /r defines directories within the folder that will be included in the zip file as well. And that's all you would need to do for that. Just make sure that that you have all the files that your application needs to run independently. Then, once you have that configured, you can run this application, and it's a very simple little tool. So you target the directory that you published to. In this case, it's in the D drive in the release folder. You specify the name of the application, and then the version number. The version number is more important than the application name. You can really put whatever you want here, but what's most important is this version number. It needs to match whatever version number that you put in AWS, but we'll get to that in a moment. Then in this box right here, you will also write patch notes regarding the version that you're on. Oh, we're on 72 now, that's right. Then just say test version. Now what this does when I hit package files is it will create 3 files. It will create the version info, a zip file, and a version info, and a hash file. The hash file contains hash data for each of the individual files contained within the zip file, which will then be used to compare against the user's local files in their directory when they open up Atlas. It will compare their local directory with the hash file on AWS. The reason it does this is because it's a very expensive process to pull each individual file from AWS, look at its hash, and then compare it to a user's individual file. So what we've done is created a text file that does that for you, so that you don't have to do any of that, and AWS doesn't have to fetch those files for you. Once this is done, it only takes a few seconds, we will have in, oh, not that one, moment, in app data, which you can access like this, in Alpine Deploy Tool, you will have your new zip archive along with an updated version information, which is exactly what we just made right there, and then the hash data file, which contains all the information for the hash files that are in the zip file. Now, from here, you will go onto AWS, find the place that you're keeping your application files. In this case, it's here. We have it under Atlas 3, and this is what your folder structure will generally look like. Now, when you go to do this, you will have to delete both these files. I'm not going to do that here since this is a live build, but to show you what it looks like when it's all done, you put your hash data text file here, and then you will create another directory called app files, and this is where all of the application files individually live, so that the installer can pull any files that are different from here onto the user's local machine in the form of a compressed zip file that will then unzip and replace the files that are on their local machine. That's only if they have Atlas already installed on their computer. If they don't, then it will pull instead from the build files, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You will have in a separate bucket a build. You'll have a build directory, and then below that you'll have individual build folders that have the zip file and the text file. I have been including an exe that was made from an ENSYS script, but we are moving away from that now, so that's no longer necessary. These are the only two files that you really need. These are the only two files that the installer will look at when trying to do an update. If the user doesn't have Atlas on their computer already, it will just automatically pull this entire zip file so that they can do a clean install. But otherwise, if they do have it, it looks for this hash file here, hash data, and then it will pull the necessary files from app data. So the way that you upload things, and I'll use a test bucket since we don't want to disrupt anybody's live builds, the way that you'll do this is first, you will delete both of these files here. Now that they're deleted, you'll create a new folder called app files. And then you will simply go to the place where you'll, oh, that's right, you will need to, this step that I missed, you will need to unzip this folder, extract to, I can extract anywhere, but we'll just do it here. Extract all the files here. Make sure that that zip file is no longer in here. We don't need to include that as part of this build. Select everything, and then you will just go back to AWS, and you will drag all these files into the directory. And then you just hit upload. Then we'll start uploading all those files. And that takes a hot minute. So I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to cancel because it just takes it will take you quite a few minutes to upload that. Once that's done, you will then go back and we'll pretend like this is where we're keeping our builds, but it is no, I won't do that. Your build files will need to be in their own individual bucket, just like so. And they will need to be structured like this. Now, you can name these files whatever you want, as long as they include the build number in the name, because that is what will be referenced against the parent directory when it looks for the version info text. And then once those files are uploaded, as soon as you've uploaded your zip file to the build folder, then the installer will be able to see that there is a new version available, because it won't match the user's current version on their computer, and it will alert the user that there's an update the next time that they start up. But it will only try to pull individual files after the hash file has been uploaded. So what you'll do is you will take this hash file and you will just put it in the same directory as the app files folder that contains all the individual files. Again, just to reiterate, and this is just for testing purposes, I'll show you how you would create a builds folder. Keep in mind, you would, under non-testing circumstances, you would not have this builds folder accompanied by any other folders inside the bucket. It would just be by itself. But for this purpose, we're just going to create a folder inside builds called 3.1.72, and then you just upload the zip, which is not named correctly for some reason. Oh, because I'm not in the right folder. I navigated away from app data. Right, here. Ha. These two files are all you need to put in the deploy folder, or the builds folder. And this one goes pretty fast. Also, after you finish uploading, you will see a screen that tells you if anything failed to upload. Just keep an eye on that to make sure that nothing failed to upload during deployment. I've only seen it happen once, but it has happened before. Okay, so these things would be up, and the user would be able to see that there's a version available. If they already have a version on their computer, then it will check the hash data file and compare all the file hashes against the file hashes on their local machine, and pull any ones that are different from this app files folder. Now, after all that's deployed, you will want to test your build. And you can do this by running the installer on your computer, this installer file that comes with RMS and Atlas 3. It will run, and it will tell you that your current version is newer than the current version. It will give you a status. In this case, we already have we already have this version downloaded, and it sees that. And here, since there's already this zip file that matches this version, it sees that that's already there, and will try to install it. But since I didn't actually deploy this, it didn't do that. But here, I'll try again. I'll delete this, and it will see if it's. It'll probably just say that it's download and ready for install. Oh, again, I'm in the wrong folder. It's already in here. This is where updates are downloaded for Atlas in the roaming Atlas 3 updates folder, and that's why that was showing up. So I'll delete that. And now, you can see the version's up to date. It's past the previous version. But let's go ahead and hit download so you can see what happens there. It downloads the whole zip file. Since we're asking for a completely different version than what our current version is, it will need to overwrite everything. Now we only keep the most recent version in AWS. We don't keep the individual files for each previous version in here. If a user wants to revert, they will have to download the whole zip file. These app files are simply to make the update process quicker, to get users on the most current version as quickly as possible with as little data throughput as possible. And that should just about do it for the deploy process. Hope that was helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye.